Hi, I'm Jackie Searcel, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Monte Carlo simulation. A Monte Carlo simulation is a tool that you can use to estimate how much money you might make given multiple different variables. So it's a pretty complicated thing, but I'm going to walk you through how I do it using Google Docs or Google Sheets. I have seen, templates like this in Excel, but I don't actually own a copy of Excel. So I just made my own from scratch in Google Sheets, and I'll go ahead and share this with you when I'm done so that you can have it to use as a template. There's quite a bit of editing that you need to do in order to make the template actually reflect what you're trying to do with it. So let's see what we can do with this one. It might take a little bit. I'll try to edit this to make it not a super long video and just show you, the steps that I use in changing previous Monte Carlo simulation into, what I want it to show me for a new project. So this is one that I had used for a different co-op, the Crop Share Co-op, but I am now doing it for the Reinhabit Cooperative. And so I have some information already in here that isn't really relevant. So I'm going to have to change this up. So let me just show you, what I have here. This is a, Google Sheets that has 3 different sheets on it. The first one is where you put your inputs. The second one is where you have the charts that actually show you the outcome. Where you get this bell curve. So what we're doing is we're using a regular distribution, and you put your, range in here that you want it to calculate, and it will give you a bell curve distribution of the possibilities within that range. But you're using multiple different variables, so each one of these is a different variable, and what it does is it calculates a bunch of scenarios. This actually calculates 1,000 or is it 1,000? Isn't it 500? I think I only did 500 for this one. You could do 1,000, might give you better results. This one's only doing 500 possibilities for these variables within that range. So each, one of these columns is associated with each one of these columns. You change these numbers, like if I put 200 in here, it's going to change those numbers, and that will change these numbers in here as well. So yeah, you can see how you're getting actually different numbers based on what you put in here. So some things that you will notice just right off the bat about how this calculates things is that even though I put in 200 as the maximum number of members, when we come over to here, the scenarios, oh, where was that? Where did I see it? I think it actually changes. Oh, yeah, there it is, 250. Wait, why does it have 250? Because what I put in here was the upper average number for members. So what you're doing, this is about statistics, and if you're not familiar with statistics, when you give a statistic, really what you're supposed to do is say that I think this has a 90% probability plus or minus 5, okay? You're supposed to give that plus or minus. You're supposed to say what your uncertainty is of that number. And so, I'm saying that, my upper average is 20, but there's actually some wiggle room around that. I don't know for sure that it's going to be 200. It could be 195. It could be 250. So when you put your averages in here, don't give it the absolute highest number you think it could possibly be. Give it what you think is a reasonable upper limit of what you think the average might be, and give it some leeway that it could be more than that, but it's unlikely to be more than that. It's likely to be somewhere in this range. Okay, that's what you want to give it, is a range within which you think it's pretty likely that number would be. Don't give it the absolute maximum and the absolute minimum. Give it kind of the range where you're pretty certain that it's going to be somewhere in there, if that makes sense. So that's what we're really putting in here. Now, what variables do we need? That's the first thing that you have to figure out here, is what are we even calculating? So the previous one, I could probably go off of this and mirror it somewhat so I don't have to change it too much. So the number of members, that's important for a cooperative. Now shares, this is confusing because when I previously made this, I wasn't talking about membership shares here. I was actually talking about crop shares, like selling shares of crops. So 1,000 shares of crops. And this, I was calculating it just for the first couple of years for this cooperative that we might have, I had 150 in here that we might have, maybe after 2 or 3 years, we might have 150 members, and those 150 members would sell 1,000 crops in that year. So this is actually my number of sales, the number of sales that are made, and then the price per sale. And then I was also thinking about charging a fee every time a new producer joins, that they would have to pay something so that we can pay somebody to review their application and approve them for membership and give them an orientation and answer questions for them, that sort of thing. And I also had a fee for new items, adding a new listing to the website so that, again, we can have somebody review that and make sure it holds to our standards for what we want on our platform. So we don't necessarily need to do that in the case of the Reinhabit Cooperative. Might be a good idea, though. For a little bit of context, anybody randomly watching this who isn't a part of the project I'm working on, this is a cooperative for regenerative landscapers. So we're looking at having members, and our members would be, at least from what we're thinking right now, is that the members would be professional landscapers who are providing regenerative landscaping options for customers. And we would have really three types of people involved in, or I guess four types of people involved in this. There's the customers, there's the administrators like myself, and then there's the apprentice new gardeners, and then there's lead gardeners. So apprentice gardeners would be coming in, learning how to garden, and they're the ones who would just show up to work on a project and get paid. And we would be taking some percentage of the fees that are going through. We're going to have an app, a phone app. And so people, the customers get on the phone app and they purchase a service. The lead gardener communicates with them and sets up a time to come, see their property and make a plan and, give them some package of landscaping service. And then the lead landscaper then posts that on our app for these apprentice landscapers to come and work with them. So we not only have the customers paying into the app for the services, but then we also have these lead landscapers who are kind of farming out that work to these apprentice landscapers, their assistants, and we're also going to be taking some percentage, or at least this is what we're currently thinking, to be taking some percentage of what they're paid, because we're going to use our payment service to split up the money. Some of it goes to the lead landscaper and some of it goes to the apprentice landscapers. So we're trying to basically figure out what percentage we need to charge from the customers and what percentage we need to charge to the lead landscaper and the apprentice landscaper, so that we can make enough money to fund this app and to fund our administrators to administrate the app and the cooperative in general. So sorry if that's a little bit roundabout to explain what the heck I'm doing here, but I think it does give context for why I'm doing these particular variables, these numbers. It's a little bit confusing. So we've got members, we've got sales. So I need to edit this to say, okay, these are the number of sales. So yearly, it's not shares, it's going to be services, because I also have in the app, I've got the ability to sell products. There's also a marketplace that I've got in there where you can actually purchase like food products. So let's say somebody is on the app and they are, let's see, I'm having to think through this as I'm doing this. This is part of the process. You got to think through the process of what all are we charging for, who's paying for it. So what are the different variables that we need to charge for? So in my app, I've got it set up so that actually anybody in the app can sell a product, is what I've got it set up as right now. And we're still building the app, but what I've got right now is that not only can the lead gardeners and the apprentice gardeners sell products, customers can sell products too. So it's possible that we could actually allow the customers to be members as well. Possible. This is what I'm figuring out here. This is what we're figuring out. We're figuring out what all are we going to charge for, and how are we going to put this into a spreadsheet so that we can figure out how much money we need to charge, so we can figure out how much money we would make. It's complicated. So, okay. Are we having, let's just assume that the only people who are actually full-fledged members are the lead gardeners, because this is a cooperative, and I'm working on this with a woman named Caroline. Hi, Caroline. And we were just talking about having there be a real process where you have to go through training and have orientation and agree to certain rules and whatnot before you become a full-fledged member of the cooperative. And that gives you voting rights. It gives you equity. It gives you the ability to earn dividends on the profits that we make from the cooperative. And so that's full membership. But there's also just membership as in you're on the app, using the app, and you're participating in what the co-op does. So maybe I should have these be different variables. Maybe I want the co-op members, and then I also want users. So I might want to make another column here that is users. Let me just make kind of a list over here on the side. So we've got co-op members, we've got app users. That might be a variable. Might not be important to even make these variables, other than just kind of to see where we're getting the numbers from, because what really matters is sales. And what kind of sales do we have? We have multiple different kinds of sales. We've got the services, we've got products. I also have a category which is within products, which is rentals. So if one of the lead gardeners has a tiller and they're willing to rent that out, they could add that as a product and then rent it out over the app. So we've got different ways to make money. No idea how much. See, this is why we need Monte Carlo simulation, because I have no idea how much people might use these different parts of the application. None. It could be that I'm building this whole rental system and then nobody uses it. It could be that it ends up being a big thing and everybody wants to rent each other's tillers and trailers and mowers, and, you know, hey, like, let's, instead of everybody owning their own lawnmower, let's all share a lawnmower, you know, and this could end up being a big part of what people use the app for. This is why you need a Monte Carlo simulation, because you can put in like, okay, 0 to 150,000. I don't know. We don't know. And then I can play with these numbers and figure out what the actual outcome would be given these parameters. So we've got these different kinds of sales. And then we're also going to have to figure out, well, there's the pay as well. And there's paid for lead gardeners and apprentices. Okay. That's what we're paying them out. Payroll fees. Let's call it payroll fees. Okay. Because we're running payroll through our system to pay people, right? And I don't know if we're actually use a payroll system or just consider everybody. I probably will just consider everybody freelancers. They'll all just be independent contractors, in which case we don't necessarily need to use a formal kind of payroll service. We could just pay people and say, okay, you're responsible for your own taxes and tracking all of that, because we're just paying you as an independent contractor. But I don't know. We're going to have to look into how to do that. Definitely going to need to talk to a CPA about the legalities of that, because it's similar to Uber. You know, what we're talking about here is similar to Uber because we have an app that people are getting jobs through, but they're acting as independent contractors, not employees. And that's really, I mean, it really is what we're doing here. We really don't want, you know, this to seem anything like people are acting as employees because they're getting their own customers. I mean, customers are coming to the app to find gardeners. Gardeners are going to have different products, different services that they're offering through the app. And so we're not even defining what the service is, unlike Uber, where Uber defines what the service is, right? It's getting a ride, it's not anything else. We're going to have certain, you know, boundaries of what you can put on the app, but you know, you could be putting a deep mulch garden, you could be doing a wildflower patch, you could do prairie lawn, you could do backyard chicken coop, it could be a vegetable garden, anything within that regenerative gardening and landscaping umbrella. It could even be picking up pecans. I come pick up the pecans in your yard. There's a lot of variability that could be under services. Products could be anything, any agricultural product that you can make from what you grow. It has to have at least one ingredient, I would say, that you actually got from the landscaping or gardening. You know, because we don't want people on here just selling Tootsie Rolls, right? It needs to be something from your garden, food product of some sort. Possibly something like a soap that you made from the herbs that you harvested from your yard. Possibly. We're going to have to talk about what our boundaries are around that. Thanks. So these are it looks like these are the variables that I need. Gotcha. Okay, now membership shares, yes. Fees, transaction fee. We're going to call this service fee. Okay, I had a thing for revenue sharing. Just in case we have some loan or something we're doing revenue sharing on. New item fee, membership shares, new producer fee, product fee, and payroll fee. And I leave this in this order because I know in my scenarios this number is used. With this. This and this are linked. So I'm just going to leave that linked. But these I actually want to be a percentage, not a dollar amount. No, percentage. Percentage, yes. Product fee. So yeah, let's say, let me just for now, I'm just going to put it at 10%. You know, we might end up doing way lower than that. But for now, we're just going to leave it at that. Okay, great. That's all. Okay, good. I didn't have to add any columns other than that one. Okay, now let me just for a moment plug some numbers in here. Okay. Okay. We have some numbers to play with. Okay, so next step, we need to go over to the scenarios page. Now we're going to have to redo all of this math. Oh, I actually didn't have a whole lot. This wasn't a whole lot of math. Okay, good. I've had ones that just go on and on and on and on, calculating a bunch of different things. And this might be one of those. Okay, so we need to copy the information from over here. Members, yearly services. Oh. Okay, and then we need to add a new one. Lovely. And the one that we need to add was payroll percentage. Okay. And then, yeah, we're going to copy this over here, but we're going to change the information. So input F6 from the input page. F6, F5 minus F7, we're talking about G. So we just need to change F to G. Oops, hit the wrong button. There, G. Okay. Yes, autofill. Great. Thank you for being intelligent, thingy. Why are all my numbers on the right side, whereas over here my numbers are on the left side? I'm not sure why that's doing that, but yeah, that looks right. So this is the calculation. You just change it to the correct variable. Input is this tab because it's the input tab. And then you got to put these exclamation point means it's taking from over there, I believe. $sign means that if I copy and paste down, it's not going to change it, because often when you copy and paste in a Google Doc, actually, yeah, if you copy and paste this way or copy and paste this way, it'll actually change the variables to match the row you're on, right? So you want to keep it the same, because you don't want it to change with every new row you copy it onto. So that's why you need that exclamation point and $sign. I kind of forgot which one is which, but yeah. Okay. So B10. Okay. We're taking that B10 membership share price. Oops. And we're multiplying it by the number of members, B3. So that's all good. Gross sales. So we're taking C, yearly services, times D3, service price. And we're getting a gross sales number. That seems okay. That seems about right. Transaction fees, and we were calling those service fees, not transaction fees, because we have multiple different fees. Service fees, that is taking this amount. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Millions of dollars, really? That's nice. If we had 22 members and they're selling 6,291 services each, that seems, or they're all together selling that many, which would be, hold on, I'm just going to check the math here to see if this makes sense. 6,291 is the total number of services that the entire cooperative is selling in a year, divided by 22 members. That means each member is doing 285. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Having 285 invoices in a year for customers for a full-time landscaper. Yeah, at least. I mean, some of them might be doing it part-time, not quite full-time. So we got to leave some wiggle room for that. That's why I didn't make it higher. But yeah, that seems reasonable. This one they're charging a lot more. This one, you got 19. What does that look like? You got 15,638 divided by 19 landscapers. Each landscaper is doing an average of 823 contracts, invoices in a year. 52 weeks in a year. 15 contracts. Seems a little high. 15 invoices a week. I mean, it's doable, but I don't know if that would be the average. It feels a little high for an average when you're talking about 19 different landscapers who all have varying sizes of businesses, varying numbers of clients. 15 contracts a week seems a bit high. You'd have to have a real team, which is what this is made for. This is made for getting contracts and farming them out to other people. That's what this is made for. So yeah, if you're getting contracts and farming them out to other people, 15 a week doesn't, really does make sense, but it still seems a little high for an average. I might want to drop that down just a little bit. Okay, where are we going? Yeah, I was trying to make these numbers seem reasonable. Gross services, service fees. Okay, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. With a 10% service fee, we're making quite a bit of money to pay people. To pay me for the app, to pay for the app to run, to function. That seems reasonable. Look at that, 65,000 up to 487,000. Wow. Got a lot of variability here. Okay. We'll mess with the numbers later. So now, service fees, new producer fees. So here we need to start changing this up. So we don't need new producer fees. Instead, we need to be calculating what? We need to calculate product fees, right? We're also going to need payroll fees. And then the total. Okay. This needs to change. This is B11. B11, the product fees, yes, times E3, yearly products. So we need to times F3 times, okay. So product fees, if we have this many products times this number times the average price times the fee. Yeah. The percentage that we're charging. So is there an easy way to get this to like go down? Is there like a button I can hit that would just copy and paste all the way down? Or am I going to have to, I think I'm going to have to do this manually. So you just go, wee. I think this is why I only did 500. Because I have to do this. And then you go like that. And then it's that. Great. 3, F4. Yep. See how that works? It keeps this part the same and it changes this to match the row that you're on. So yeah, we got all sorts of product fees, everything from $40 to $14,000 because that makes total sense. So any one of these scenarios is like, okay, we're making $1 million a year, we're making 14,000. Here we're making almost the same in fees, in service fees, but we're only making $40 in product fees because we're not selling very many products on there. Okay, sure, that makes sense. Yeah, totally. We can change the numbers to make it make more sense. We'll see. Okay, and then payroll fees. Again, we have the B12, which is the percentage, times F3. No, we want, okay, this needs to be different. So here we definitely need G3, but we also need, okay, gross, it has to do with the services. So gross services, we're going to do I times G times, yeah, G3 I3 times, is that right? That doesn't seem right. That's not right. G3, oh, because it's, G3 is a percentage. It's a percentage. So we need to go times 0.00 or 0.01. Is that right? To make it a percentage. That makes that from 66 to 0.66 percentage. 66% of this gross service revenue is being paid out to apprentices, and we are collecting a 10% fee on that. So that ends up giving us $103,000 from payroll fees. And that's probably way too high. I know. We need to change that number. I know. That's way too, 10% is way too high. We're not going to charge that much. I was just throwing out a number so we can see if the math works. Okie dokie. And then the co-op budget is adding these together. Or the co-op income is, okay. Charts. Co-op budget. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now we need to come to this one, because we need to change our diagram. Okay, so I'm adjusting my graph here. I don't even know how to explain this, but you know, this is your horizontal axis here. Vertical axis is going to be frequency, how likely it is. And so you can adjust that, and then this cumulative frequency is going to have to match. So changing this is kind of a pain, because you got to change both. You got to go all the way down and change them each independently. 600,000. Great. There we go. I fixed it. So what this is doing is calculating the frequency of scenarios that are giving you a total within the range. So 60,000 to 70,000, you got 14. 14 of these scenarios are giving you that value for the total co-op budget based on these numbers. So, yeah, we have a distribution. Beautiful, beautiful distribution. That's what you end up with. You end up with this lovely little tool. And what we can do then is we can play around with it. We can change the service fee to 5%. What happens if we drop the service fee in half? Well, our income drops down around the 70 to 80,000 range, but it could be anywhere in here. We could be making $10,000 a year. We could be making $200,000 a year. We could be making $4,000 a year with that schema. Totally depends on how things go. And you can also see kind of what the range is that you're looking at. Like, wow, what kind of a situation? And that's a good question. You can go over to the scenarios and look for those, you know, low ball numbers. Here's 4,899. That's on row 52. That would be 27 members doing 144 contracts a year, because I guess they're not doing very much. Average cost of a contract is $296. Only 144 services, but 3,000 something products. So here we're not having very many contracts. We're selling quite a few products at $9 each with a 54% payroll. We're only making $4,899 on that. So we really need those services. Wow. And I said 1,000. See how this works? Bell curve. Bell curve. It gives you a bell curve around those averages. It's a big bell curve. That is not a bottom and top range. It's not. So it really gives you a real spread of what could happen. Because, some shit could happen. Some really bad shit could happen. We could, recruit 27 members and they're hardly any of them are doing anything. And so we're only making $4,000 a year. Whereas we could bust out $20,000 or $200,000 a year. So that's it. That is a Monte Carlo simulation, and really fun to play with. Once you got it, you can put in all sorts of numbers and see how that affects how much money you could make. And it gives you such a range that you can really see best case and worst case scenarios on here. It doesn't just give you, oh, it's going to be this amount. Like that's really not a good way to look at things when you're doing business planning, because you're just making a shot in the dark. You have no idea. It's really good to see, what these ranges could be. And you can put in kind of some worst case scenarios of like, well, what if we only have this many customers? What if they don't, use our service as much as we think they will? You're gonna see those lower numbers on there, and just give you a better idea of the risk that you're taking. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you next time.